Welcome to the Rebel Podcast, the podcast for creative rebels and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Michael Dargy. On this episode, we travel around the world to the Netherlands to meet Alia Sandovar and David Chislett, who co-founded the Playful Creative Summit. What is the Playful Creative Summit, you may ask? Glad you did. It's a virtual summit that runs from April 21st to the 25th and is for entrepreneurs, business owners, play-oriented professionals, and anyone who is interested in playfulness and creativity. All the links are in the show notes at therebelrebelpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and welcome to the Rebel. Welcome to the Rebel. I'm your host, Michael Dargy, and strategically placed around the world, I have Alia, and David, and they're doing some really cool stuff around play and creativity and basically making the world a better place. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Of course. We are doing this over Zoom, so if we sputter and cough and do all that stuff, we'll make sure that we get it back. But if we could, Alia, you are in Germany right now?
Yes, I'm in Berlin. Yeah.
Awesome. And David, where are you at?
I'm in the Netherlands in a town called Zeist.
Awesome. Okay, wicked. What I'd love to do is just get a little brief background on both of you individually, and then maybe talk about how you guys came together and what's coming up, because you guys have a pretty big event coming up.
Yeah, we do. See, Alia's hesitating nicely, letting me take this one. Yeah, we do. Together, we are the co-founders of the Playful Creative Summit. I'm the creative side of the Playful Creative, if that makes any sense. So I grew up in the music industry in South Africa, playing in bands and then managing them, and then becoming a music journalist and a promoter and running a PR company focused on live entertainment and music kind events and products and what have you. Before moving into training, mainly business management skills training, and then in the Netherlands, stepping over into language training, and now finally into this whole idea of creativity training, which is my key focus now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Alia.
Wow, that was a great intro, David. All right. Well, I'm originally from Colombia, South America. And like David, I've lived in different places, including the U.S., and my journey was topsy-turvy. I went through many different things. My first job was as a management consultant, and I was very unhappy at that job. And that eventually led me to study psychology. I got a master's in clinical psych, and it was through playing with my clients there that I remembered how important playfulness was when I was a kid. I used to play a lot with my grandmother. And so this idea of working in play or working in games started sort of surfacing. And I actually had started a PhD in psychology, and I quit in order to begin a whole new study in video games. And yeah, and then I went I left the clinical psychology thing, and I started a master's where I had studied human systems, and then that led me to my actual finished PhD, which is in game production, and there began my career in making games, working in games, working at the Game Developers Conference, and and in my life in games and working with institutions, academic institutions, eventually moving. Well, in the middle of finishing my PhD, I actually moved to the Netherlands, and that's where I met David. Was in a conference in the Netherlands.
Wow. So you're actually a doctor of play.
Yeah, I guess so. I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah.
That's so cool.
Alia is the brains of the outfit, clearly.
Wow. Okay. So very cool. So let's talk a little bit about how you guys connected and what it is that you guys have created, and what we can expect for this next one, especially during the days of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, shall I start since it's
you tell the story.
Yeah, we'll do the segue.
Yeah. So actually, David was a speaker on creativity at a conference for entrepreneurs called the Spark Conference in the Netherlands. And he was by far the most engaging and most enjoyable speaker from my perspective. And I laughed so hard when I was listening to him. I thought, oh my gosh, who is this guy? He's so funny. And of course, during the conference, they encourage everyone to, we did like a mass LinkedIn connection where everyone, did this like auto connection with everyone that's around you.
Yeah.
And of course we were connected, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him then, but I thought, okay, I need to reach out to this guy. This guy's super cool. So
look at his hair.
Yeah. I just felt like his energy was cool. He was talking about creativity in a way that I thought was fresh and new and fun. And so I messaged him. I said that I really enjoyed his his speaking, and told him a little bit about myself. And I said, do you think there might be room to collaborate on something? And so then we met up for coffee and talked a little bit about ourselves and our lives and why we were where we were and what brought him to the Netherlands, what brought me to the Netherlands. And I think it was in our second meeting, right, David? We decided to meet again. That by this point, I had heard of this idea of summits, these online conferences that people could be a part of. And so I said, hey, there's this thing that's happening in the online world called, online summits. What do you think? And do you want to maybe do something like that together?
Yeah. To which my answer was, of course, yeah, yes. Why not? I mean,
yeah, I was like, I've never done it. He's like, well, it sounds cool. And he's like, I was like, do you know people that maybe could speak? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, I know people that could speak. And then, then I think came down to the name. We're like, what we're going to call it. And I said, well, you're creative and I'm playful. So let's just call it the Playful Creative Summit.
Yeah.
And then
that's what it says on the tin. That's what it says on the tin.
And then that began a really wonderful collaboration and co-working, colleague experience. So
that's wild.
Yeah.
How many speakers did you have? You had like a lot, hey?
Yeah, the first edition we had 45 speakers over 3 days. So because it was totally online and digital, we didn't do this sort of traditional releasing the interviews with the speakers at a specific time of day.
Yeah.
Because we were from the start aiming at a global audience, we realized pretty quickly that was just going to limit how many people could see what.
Yeah.
So we released the interviews in batches of 15, one per day. And the idea was that, hey, whenever you can, log on, watch a couple of interviews, come back later, come back tomorrow, whenever. And it really, really went well. We hired in someone to assist us on the technical side of things who's created and run a couple of summits before.
Oh, cool.
And when she saw our numbers, she was like, this is nuts. You guys have spent no money on marketing. It's all been organic, word of mouth. The numbers we did, that she was seriously impressed. So, but we kind of got it a bit lucky because we planned this at the end of 2019 to launch on April Fool's Day 2020.
Of course.
Which, of course, was smack in the middle of the first round of lockdown.
Yeah.
So we had inadvertently created a highly entertaining, accessible thing about play and creativity when everybody was stuck at home.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was perfect time.
It's a perfect storm. COVID's terrible, but
we had fun. Yeah. That.
Wow. And so what does this year look like? What does 2021 look like?
Well, we are working on some embellishments. As mentioned, the what would you call it? The inaugural summit was entirely pre-recorded, and we are working on live elements for the 2021, which will include interactive sessions, Q&As, actual keynote presentations, which will take place at a specified time of day, and that kind of stuff, just to level it up and to take it a little bit further and, you know, not repeat ourselves too awfully from the first edition.
Gotcha. What was the, I guess, what's the feedback that you got from the people that attended?
Yeah, that's good too. You know, we actually sent a survey out to see what people would say, and maybe I can summarize it in what my sister said. So it was the first time my family ever watched anything that I did. Yeah, they thought I was nuts for getting a PhD. So they were like, okay. So, but my sister watched one of the interviews, and she said that interview really inspired her to go into business for herself.
Oh, cool.
And because she said, I just loved it so much. I got so much inspiration, so much, so much juice from it. And then she said, and I'm so proud of you for putting all this together.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think, you know, we haven't combed through, to be perfectly honest, all our survey results, but from direct feedback we've gotten from people, it's just mostly what people got were like inspiration. And like ideas and ways of thinking outside of the box, because our speakers were from very different areas, right? So of course we had people who were experts in play and people who were experts in video games. But we also had people who were makers. We also had artists. We had people who made films. I forget, of course, we had professionals like that worked with Lego with different companies, you know, like Lego consultants. So we had really a variety of creative and playful types, you know. Yeah. And also they were from all over the world, from Indonesia to, I mean, I'm trying to think of from like Venezuela to Finland. So we were really trying to create this diversity in terms of people and also in terms of backgrounds. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, that's so cool. All right, well, how long are the interviews? Like, how long would a video be?
It kind of varied from speaker to speaker, but we set ourselves an objective to make none of them shorter than 15 minutes and none of them longer than 40. I think most averaged out somewhere around the early 20s mark.
Yeah.
I think part of the feedback was that we may well look at making that possibly a little more uniform, possibly a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, it's you know, it's great that our users found this inspirational, but let me tell you, speaking to some of these people doing the interviews was pretty like, you don't want them to stop speaking, which is why some of the videos got a little bit on the long side, because it's like, wow, I'm not telling this person to stop. This is awesome.
Okay. So, and this is, I guess, a thing that I didn't realize that I just thought that somebody plunked down in front of a monitor, like a camera, and they just did their thing and blah, 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 off it went. But you guys actually interviewed each person.
Yes.
Yeah, we thought it was incredibly important to concretize these things as much as possible. So instead of just letting someone sit down and waffle on their favorite thing, we were very conscious of trying to push them into sharing actual tips and tricks and like the inside story of how they do what they do with the people who are logging on to watch. So we interrogated the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Yes. That sounds so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm assuming that if I wanted to get a pass, I could just buy a pass and I could watch all of these things at my leisure.
Go, Alia.
Yeah. Okay. So the way we've set up the summit is that regardless of where you are in the world and your economic background or circumstances, you can watch it live or not live because they're pre-recorded. The pre-recordings, you can watch them for free for the 5 days that the summit is quote unquote live.
Wow.
Then after that, if you want to keep the recordings because you need more time, then we invite you to upgrade to an all access pass. As this year we are thinking of up leveling and creating some interactive sort of activities. We might consider having like a special smaller pass that you'll have to purchase to be part of the interactive activities. But that's something we're still discussing. But the general summit is all the recordings, even though we're releasing them 15 at a time per day, they're open for people to watch for free. And if you don't get a chance to finish them all, then we invite you to upgrade to the all access pass afterwards. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a gift, you guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, terrible business model, but
well, is it? It's freemium. A significant portion of people who watched for free saw enough value to buy the upgrade. So
absolutely.
We're certainly walking the walk first, so that then people are inclined to buy the talk.
That's really great. So I do talks on branding all the time. And one of the things I always talk to people about is giving before you get. So the idea of, putting a gift out there, something, whether it's knowledge or, whatever, with no expectation of getting something back in return, just, being truthful about your stuff. And, I would think that playfulness and creativity, that's so on brand to be like, here it is. And if there's value, then we'd love love for you to buy a ticket. That's so good, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we really think and believe that, these playfulness and creativity is something that as human beings, we are not only innately wired for, but it is something that we should have access to, especially when the world, from my perspective, the world can get quite serious. Right now, the world is quite serious, so this is something that is important to continue to advocate for, to grow, to bring, bring out of people. And so offering this is an important part of our value system. And even all the hours that go into it.
I bet.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I think last year we said it was like 600 hours of time that went into putting it together. And between the three of us, between David, me, and our technical person. Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
It didn't work out to a great hourly rate, but what it did give us was the ability to fight another day, and hence now moving on to the second edition and looking to grow. Oh,
that's so good.
Yeah.
So normally I like to ask guests on the show 5 things that the world needs to know. But because there's, two of you, I'd like to get three things from each of you that the world needs to know.
All right. You want to go first, Alia, or shall I?
No, go. You go. I have to think.
All right. 3 things from me. The first thing everyone needs to know is that we are all creative. It's not this genius skill thing that only some people have. It's an inherent human capacity, and it's what enables us to take charge of our world and to actually live the lives we want. We're all creative. The second thing you need to know is that creativity isn't magic. It requires work. It requires you to show up. It requires you to be in a certain state of mind. Yeah. But because it isn't magic, it means that anybody can get more of it and do more of it and become better at it. Huh. And number 3, what you really need to know is what you're going to see in the summit next year. You got to come and watch.
Love the shameless plug. That's
Sorry,
awesome.
Cop out. I couldn't think of a third thing really quickly.
Well, that's great. I love it.
All right. So the question is 3 things that the world should really know.
Yeah, and it could be about anything. It could be about how to make pizza dough. I don't know.
Okay. All right. That's good. Well, I think the first thing is that very similar to what David said, but from my perspective, I think it's important for people to make time every day to play. So this is it's something that I personally do. I set up time in the morning to do some kind of playful, creative something. And I think that really sort of sets the mood for us individually and maybe even collectively to start off our days in a different mindset, in a different mode. Yeah. And so that would be number one. Number two that the world needs to know, depending where you are on the planet, what I call a cortado may be called something different in different countries. Okay. So a cortado is like an espresso shot with a little bit of milk, not foam, but just like a bit of milk.
Yeah.
And, so in Bali, that is called a piccolo. But in Munich, that is called a flat white. So that's just something.
That's what we call it here too.
Yeah. Okay. So you see, you got to know how to take your coffee in different countries. And the third thing that I think people should know is that even though people might have differences in how they stand or how they believe about things, they're still people. They still cry. They still have to poop. They still have to care for their children, and that we're all in the same boat together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wicked. Something that I love to connect with. I'm just going to ask some rapid fire questions. You guys jump in like whenever you want. And you know, if you both have, if you don't have an answer for it, don't worry about it. But favorite video game of all time?
Oh
Asteroids.
Asteroids?
Actually, I can't say the favorite of all time, but I can say my favorite of the last decade is Gorogoa.
Oh, I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, we'll go look it up. Gorogoa.
So how do you spell that?
Gorogoa.
Yeah. Okay, will do.
You can find it on Xbox. You can find it on iOS. You can find it on anything.
Awesome. Have you guys done any VR gaming?
Virtual reality gaming?
Yeah.
Nah, not me.
I did research in virtual reality, so I would say yes.
Awesome. You're one of your favorite books of all time.
Oh.
Ooh. Wow, that's a difficult one to answer. Just about anything by Philip K. Dick, probably, but yeah. And more recently, David Eagleman's book on creativity called The Runaway Species. Mind-blowing. Loved it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, cool. I'll pick that one up for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
it's quite a read.
This is a blank for me, but one that I really enjoy, which I always talk about when I'm doing a workshop or anything like this, is Reality is Broken by Jane McGonigal. So I think that's a really good book that explains what would happen if the world was more game-like instead of how it is.
Oh, interesting.
Broken. So yeah, so that would be a cool recommendation.
All right. What's your go-to website?
I immediately want to know for what, but I guess like if I'm working and I need to take a break, like the website I go to is a rugby website to go. I don't know. You know,
that's fair.
Just completely switch off, you know, like, oh, sport.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I really can't say I probably, all right. Well, maybe the website I'm most enjoying these days is, it's like my Octalus's Prime, training, which is like a game-like experience in which you can learn more about games.
Okay.
So that's fun because I go to the website and it's like a little game world and I can play within the game world.
Oh, what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence?
Oh.
I think I can't wait. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about AI, especially when people start talking about general AI. You speak to anyone who actually really works in the field, and they're like, we don't even know what makes us intelligent. It's going to be very hard to see how we're going to make a machine intelligent. Real experts in the field reckon we're still possibly even hundreds of years away from that, despite how incrementally fast it is developing. Yeah. But more specific AI, absolutely love it. I think it's great that we've got to the stage where machines can start doing all the dog work. I just hope that the politicians get it right and make sure that the digital divide doesn't reflect it in a even bigger economic divide, and that as a result of AI, the rich just become incredibly off-planet super rich, and the rest of us are lying in the mud.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So in video games, actually, they use a bit of AI to create levels. So it's called procedural generated content. So you can actually, create levels using AI. I don't know much about it, although I know friends who work in the field and friends who work in AI. My feeling about AI is, I think it's much more advanced than we are led to believe. That's my little quirk there. I think there's a lot more happening than people realize, and is much more advanced. It's like anything, the public only gets to see a little bit of what is possible, and there's so much stuff happening behind the scenes, only because I happen to see in academic settings how much funding is going to AI and what they're able to do. And this doesn't always translate to the public. So I'm willing to bet there's so much stuff happening that people don't realize, and that we're much more advanced than people realize.
Awesome. I tend to believe the same. My son is doing some stuff in AI, and it's wild.
Yeah.
The stuff you can do. So when we're allowed to travel again freely, where's the first place you're going to go?
Well, I'm in the Netherlands. I'm looking out the window. It's misty. It's cold. It's 2 degrees. Somewhere where there's sun without a shadow of a doubt. Preferably, maybe with winelands as well, and a good restaurant. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty broad. Anywhere, really.
For me also definitely sunshine and green. David had told me about some friends that had like a little house in South Africa. So I've been sort of thinking about that, or maybe the Canaries. I spent 5 months in Bali this year because I got grounded there in the middle of everything. Yeah. So I'm good for my stint in Asia for a bit. So I want to try something different. And since I'm from South America, I've been there loads of times and been to North America loads of times. So yeah, maybe South Africa will be like my next destination.
Awesome. Okay, cool. What is the coolest animal encounter you've ever had?
Cool. I think for me was, it's quite cliche really, I guess, but dolphins. I was out on a paddle ski in the ocean, and I was paddling up the face of a wave to go, so that I could get out to the break. And all of a sudden I just see these 5 torpedo shapes coming down the wave towards me. And of course, immediately I'm like, shark. But I'd actually paddled into a whole pod of dolphins, and just, I forgot about paddle skiing, got off the board and just hung out with them for about 15 minutes. Which
is, God.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Wow. That's like on my bucket list.
Yeah. And it was just fluke, it wasn't an organized thing. It just happened to be there.
Yeah. That's awesome. Oh,
that's beautiful. All right. So my story, I have 2, but I'm going to pick the cute one. So actually I was in Bali. This was last year. Yes, this is 2020, right? Oh my gosh.
Still.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
longest year ever.
So I can still say last year in 2019. Oh boy. And in February of 2019, I also went to Bali, and I was in Ubud in their monkey forest. And they tell you, don't try to grab the monkeys. Especially the baby monkeys. You cannot touch them because the moms will go crazy. So don't do anything.
Yeah.
So I watched the monkeys. And so it was really quite hot, and I was trying. So I sat in the shade in a bench, and I decided to just sit there with my eyes closed, and I meditate a little bit, take in the atmosphere and the sounds of the little jungle and whatever. And then I suddenly open my eyes, and I'm completely surrounded by monkeys, and they're like all around me, and then there's like a baby monkey like playing with this little board, like right at my feet. And then he jumps on my lap, and this little board had like a nail or something. So I was like, no, I don't think you should be playing this. You're going to like tear your mouth or something. So I took the little board and I threw it, but then he just stayed on my lap, and then he grabbed my hand. I remember he grabbed like my little pinky it was my pinky, and he just held onto it and then scooted over to like the center of my lap, and here I am. And then a guy came and started taking pictures surrounded by these monkeys. Yeah, it was the cutest, nicest, loveliest experience to just like, and then here I was, this little monkey. And when I tried to let him go, because I saw like a mama coming, I was like, okay, I gotta let you go. He wouldn't let me go. It was so sweet.
You look like a monkey whisperer.
Yeah, you are officially the monkey woman from now on. Absolutely.
The monkey lady of Bali.
Yeah.
Picture. So if you're listening to this and you have a picture of Alia, with a baby monkey in Bali, make sure you send it into the show. Because that's awesome. One of my favorite parts about every episode that I do is I get to ask all these amazing rebels what their advice would be to, I call them rebels in waiting. And I have it in my head that there's these people out there that they don't know how to take that next step, or they're, just looking for that inspiration that's going to push them forward and allow them to do that thing that they've always wanted to do. It doesn't matter if it's business or creativity or writing a song or singing on the street. What advice would you give to those people?
Well, something I've been saying a lot lately is that it's not so much that we don't have dreams, it's that we don't know how to start. So what I routinely say to people is, well, what tiny little non-intimidating thing can you do right now, like this day or tomorrow morning, that will set you on the path towards this big thing that you want to do? Yeah. And just start. Just do that one thing. Nice. Because as soon as you've started, things change and you get more confident and things snowball. And before you know it, you're halfway down the road. So for me, it's always just like, shut up that monkey brain. Don't listen to the internal critic. Just get started.
Awesome.
Let's see. What would I say? I would say that, gosh, especially considering what this year has been for all of us across the planet, I would say tomorrow is not guaranteed. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. And so waiting for you to start your dream, not knowing that tomorrow's guarantee is not, tomorrow's not a guarantee. So choosing to move in a direction, even with one short step, as David mentioned, or whatever way that feels good to you, your life means something. And if you're waiting for permission, then I'm giving you permission right now to move forward and try something and exist in the kind of life that you've always wanted to have, because no one's going to give it to you except for yourself.
That's awesome. So, Alia Sandovar,
yes,
the doctor of play,
yeah.
David Chislett, the captain of creativity. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show. You are an absolute inspiration. Where can they learn more about you? I'll put everything down in the show notes. but just let's do some shout outs to your social media and where they can learn more about your summit coming up.
All right. Well, the summit website itself is playfulcreativesummit.com. Mm-hmm. And there you'll be able to get all the information about the new edition in 2021, taking place towards the end of April. And if you want to find out more about me, mine's also really easy. It's just my name, davidchislett.com. And from the site, you'll find all my social links and stuff. And my headphones are falling off my head. So yeah, just on my site, you'll find everything else that you might be interested in terms of social media and seeing what else I'm up to.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. And for me, you can find me at my own company website, and that's called tinthue.com. That's TINTHUE.com. You can also find me at Alia Sandovar on Twitter and on Instagram at tinthue. What else? Yeah, and of course, all my links are in my website, and happy to connect with any and all of you.
Awesome. Yeah. Guys, again, thank you so much. You kick ass. Really loved having you on the show.
It's been so great. Thank you so much. We've enjoyed it a lot.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you for listening to the Rebel podcast. It's a podcast for creative rebels and entrepreneurs. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can also support the show and help shine a light on more amazing people doing incredible things by donating at therebelrebelpodcast.com. I'm your host, Michael Dargy. Until next time.